Welcome to the Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who describes himself as basically unemployable in any other field. And honestly, that might be the best endorsement for a career in mortgage you will ever hear. He's a 14-year industry vet out of Metro Detroit who has built a data-driven, relationship-first business that just doubled in units and tripled in volume in a single quarter. David Wechsler, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you so much for having me. Humbled and honored to be here.
Absolutely, man. It's great to talk with people who are doing big things and get the story out there, man. So I'm excited to have this conversation because clearly you're doing something that works. And, I think it's great that you're willing to kind of get on here and talk about it. But let's kind of start a little bit from the beginning. You've been in the business now 14 years, originating nearly a decade. If you could just go back in time, have a conversation with yourself on day one, like what would you say?
That is a great question. Going back in time, I would tell myself, hey, everybody is weird, and not to be scared of their weirdness. We all have something crazy about us because you can have the best year in this industry, and then the next year you want to beat it. That's not like normal people don't think that way. Your typical W-2 wage earners, their brains don't operate like that. So I tell myself, one, don't be scared to really get to know people. And I would tell myself not to hold on to the intricacies of this job. Like what we are doing is important. Yes, we're helping people get houses, but we are not solving world issues here. And to let go and to really work on communicating, because earlier in the career, I didn't know I was reactive, constantly being reactive to the situation, to the realtor, to the file. I would take things home with me. I would wake up in the middle of the night being like, was this handled on this file? And now I'm just like, I can sleep because I've gotten over that hump.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much going on with one file. Yeah. I mean, just so many things to think about. And I think that's a great call out though, to allow yourself, like give yourself the permission to check out of it. Right. And to like turn that work brain off because it can drive you crazy. And this industry has a high burnout. There's, a lot of statistics out there of other things that are not good. Right. And so, divorce, drugs, things like that. And so, being able to turn it off, I think is really important. And you do something that's really interesting and I think super valuable in that you're tracking like every metric, right? I mean, when we talked before, it was something like close to 600 leads. You've got different referral tiers, monthly averages, just kind of going back years. And I know a lot of loan officers avoid data like it's homework. A lot of people in general, like salespeople, don't want to know the numbers because they're afraid that they won't like what they see sometimes. But you've kind of become borderline obsessed with it, which I think is great. Where did that obsession come from? And what has it shown you that maybe a gut instinct wouldn't be able to reveal?
So that's awesome. So I wish I could take credit of doing this and coming up with it on my own. I was taught by a mentor to always track everything in this business. So last year generated 597 leads. The tiers consist of realtor, current client referrals, business people, past client referrals, past clients, ads, and builders. So those are like the main tiers that you can get business from. And if I track the metrics, I can actually see where things are going in the direction that I want this business to go. Am I putting too many eggs in one basket? Am I doing a bad job of staying in front of past clients? So with all that data and going back to years, you can actually predict market trends or monthly trends based on historical data. So for example, April, I felt like leads were down a little bit, generated 51 leads. So I went back to look at last April and the prior April. I'm like, oh, we're actually still increasing. So that's good. That's what I want to see. And then it allows me to show a referral partner how good I am at tracking and staying in touch and keeping track of their clients. Because so many people just take down information on a scrap piece of paper, but you can't really see and forecast that way. And then the greatest story that we all tell ourselves in this industry is we're so busy. We're so busy doing all these things, but what was I really busy doing? Was I busy actually talking to leads, busy in files, busy finding myself on Instagram for an hour and a half liking people's stuff, or am I actually being busy making money making activities? So it helps me really focus in on.
Yeah, I want to maybe dive into that a little bit because I think what you mentioned about just being able to show a referral partner how you're tracking everything is really important. Do you create some sort of presentation around that, or how are you conveying that message to referral partners to show that that's how you
Yeah, I
operate?
think one of the greatest things to do is to actually bring a referral partner into the office. I invite agents to my office all the time for a second meeting. First meeting is to get to know them, see if I like them and want to invite them in. The second meeting is to show them my systems and structure. I'm not taking their clients' information down on a scrap piece of paper, that I have these metrics, that I'm tracking everything. And then it kind of shows them some of their peers that might be referring to me as well, as I show them my lead tracker. I'm like, this is how many leads we got this year so far. This is how many credit pulls we've had. This is how many are pre-approved from those credit pulls. And then it gives me all that data back. And then from there, I can show them where we keep notes on their clients, how we manage the pipeline. I do have a team behind me. So I do bring on the team on a Teams call so that they can see the faces of the individuals I'm talking about, and that we actually are doing this and running our business like a business versus just running by the seat of my pants.
Well, I mean, you have an
Yeah.
office, right?
Yeah. You
Like
might as well use it, right?
let's just start
Yeah.
there, right? Because I know a lot of people just post COVID have gotten into the habit of just working from home and meeting at coffee shops or at this place or that, and I think it's great that you're utilizing the space that's there to add a layer of professionalism. And the way I see it, and maybe I'm off base here, but I think professionals are going to want to work with other professionals. When they identify someone who's operating in a way that is elevated, they want to have that experience because that's what they align with too. Like I think the best realtors want to work with the loan officers that have a better experience. And that's obvious to say, but I think we need to be intentional about that when we're trying to convey what our value proposition is as an originator. So anyway, now last year you set a goal of 15 in-person meetings every week for 6 straight months, which is what, 26 weeks, and Zoom did not
Yep.
count. So if you don't mind, like some people might think that's bizarre, crazy, whatever. Walk us through what that looked like and what happened to your business once you started doing
So
it.
first, it was a crazy goal, and I'm a very goal-oriented person. When I focus on something, I'm going to accomplish it. Towards the end of it, I was absolutely exhausted of just seeing people, getting in front of people. It starts off easy. I mean, you start with the individuals that you already know, like, and trust, and then you can get in front of those realtors or those business professionals. But once you start running out of those people, then it really started to get difficult. What events can I attend? If it's Friday and I only have 8 face to faces and I have 2 days left to finish this off, I'm stopping in at an open house. If I'm going out to dinner with my family and I see somebody that's in the business or past client or some type of business professional, I'm going up to them and I'm having an intentional conversation. Not that I'm just like, see you from across the hall. I'm like, calm her down. No, I actually have to have a
Hey,
business related conversation, something mortgage related. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, the easiest way to accomplish it was hosting events and attending events and lunches, happy hours, coffee appointments. That was the big thing. A real estate office pop in, getting really boots on the ground. And what it did is it really, I mean, since I track everything, I watched lead intake increase substantially, almost 20% because of that. When you're in front of somebody, you have that ability to either ask what's going on with their business, see if they have any buyers that might need some help, and you're just top of mind.
yeah. So are you from Lead Tracker, are you CRM guy, spreadsheet guy? Like how are you organizing all of these
So I am
contacts?
spreadsheet type guy. With CRMs, my brain just it's there's too much going on there. So I am like old school where we have their name, their phone number, like a little spot for a note, and then data if they're pre-approved, like we're working on their credit, MIA, whatever it is. We're going to be able to label that. From there, I have a team, as I said, that assists me to help stay in contact with those people. And they have their own note taking process, pre approval trackers they use to stay in touch with the clients. But that's my biggest like thing I want to make sure is happening well, is that our client experience is there. I'm a pain in the ass if I'm buying something personally. To be honest, I expect a certain experience, but more so, I want to give that same experience that I expect. Whether you're a $40,000 buyer or a $4 million buyer, you're getting the exact same thing. And I've always hated to see people tailor their presentations or their styles to, hey, they're only a $60,000 first time home buyer. Cool, we'll help you get a house maybe if you pass compliance. Or, hey, there's a $4 million buyer. I'm going to give them Tiffany glasses at closing and a bottle of Vouv. Like, no, you give that same experience to everyone, and then the universe is going to reward you.
Yeah. Well, that $60,000 home buyer, that's a stretch for
Yeah.
them. That $4 million home buyer, that's a big deal for them too. And to your point, like we can't treat buying a house like walking into Best Buy and buying a CD, right? Like if anybody does that anymore, right? But I mean, like this is a big purchase. This is a big
Yeah.
deal. And so yeah, it needs to have that reverence. I'm curious though, do we have a shiny object syndrome problem in the mortgage industry? Because I love that you're keeping it simple with the spreadsheet and things like that, and the results are there. And we'll get into that here in a second. Like, are there just too many products, too many tools out there that are distracting loan
Yep. And it
officers?
went from like, hey, there's this really cool thing. I'm going to have you apply online. And then everybody got apply online. Now we're all equal again. Then it's AI, and I'm going to have this type of software communicate with my clients. But just like you and me, when I know when some form of robot is trying to communicate with me, these generic emails, the giveaways that they use ChatGPT to write something like, and it's starting to just become like mundane. And I think the consumer is realizing that also. The going back to the basics of using simple tactics of having face-to-face conversations with individuals, phone conversations versus sending them to a website, incorporating video in the business of talking to them, because we all have busy schedules. Getting someone to come into the office is difficult, but going back to like boots on the ground mentality versus I have this CRM and I can pull data from this and I can do this. And you have all these different things you're using. And for my brain, it just doesn't work that way. I wasn't the greatest student growing up, to be honest. So it just seems like more and more homework, which is funny because you said tracking things seems like homework. But to me, that's now been ingrained in my brain as like, I must do this for my business because otherwise, what am I doing here?
Yeah, no, I love that perspective on it because clearly I mean, you got to know your numbers if you're doing
Yeah.
anything sales related. So kind of back to that, you go through this process. I mean, 450 or so meetings, right? I mean, 15 a week for 26 weeks. That's right in that ballpark. My math's not perfect. But when you kind of take a step away from that and realize, okay, what's the end result? Like just comparing what you shared with me was Q1 of 25, you did around 4 million in volume. Q1 of 26, 40 units, 13 million. Insane, right? So that's not a gradual climb. That's a big jump. What else changed? Because was it the meetings? Was there something else that happened that was kind of driving that? Like what other changes were taking place to kind of create that big
Yeah, so
increase?
Q1 of 25, 21 units for 4.1 million. And I'm in Michigan. So it is winter, it's dreary, things are cold, people don't want to do things. And
Good point.
now
Yeah.
at this past Q1, 40 closings for 13.6 million, I believe is the number. And yeah, it exploded. And it's because of those face-to-face meetings. The new agent relationships that I made because of that is the differentiating factor. I was boots on the ground and I continue to stay in front of people. And when you're in front of people, you're top of mind. And when you're top of mind, that allows you the opportunities to win over those clients. Nothing is given, but there's been plenty of times in the past, and this goes back to your original question, we go back to the past, what would you do differently? Is you need to stay in front of people. Like you could do a really good job. You could be the greatest loan originator in the world, but if you're on to the next one and don't stay in touch with the actual referring partners and or the past clients in that process, you're easily forgotten. So the whole point of this endeavor was to not be forgotten and to build relationships. So I went over an agent and then they would start to share me with some other agents in the office, which allowed me the opportunity to absolutely just blow up on Q1 this year. And it's not just Q1. By the end of this month, there's very well going to be over 77 families financed for 20 million if everything closes. Like last year, I did 35 million
Amazing.
for 139. So we are on a great trajectory. I'm not taking my foot off the gas either. That's the thing. Like when things pick up, you want to be like coddle the loans and pull back in to baby them.
Mhm.
You got to trust the systems and structure that you built. And that's what I'm doing, at least starting to.
Yeah. Great call out there. Was actually having some conversation about that this morning with another loan officer, and really just sort of giving them that perspective, because I know building a team is not easy. There's a lot of nuance to it. There's a new responsibility to you as a loan officer, right? If you don't produce, they may not have a job. If they don't work out, you might have to let them go, those types of things. And some people don't want to get into that territory, but it does free you up from being involved in the day-to-day minutia that is keeping you from being out in front of people. And so I'm curious about this. You're a face-to-face guy. Do you leverage social media much? Is that something you pay much attention to, or is it all face-to-face
So
all the time?
I'm a troubled human with social media, and I go through these
Okay.
phases where I actually go on social media sabbaticals. I'm in one right now. Social media, I think, can be very, very positive for your business for certain people, or it can be very detrimental for your mental health for other people. For me, I start comparing myself
Hmm.
to other individuals, being like, why am I not at this level? Why are they doing this? Or why is this agent closing saying that they've got an accepted offer and they're my realtor? Like, no, like nobody's my realtor. It's like it's my job to keep that relationship and really become friends. Like I want to be friends with the individuals I work with. And then from there, business comes organically. But with social media, sometimes it gets you into that negative headspace. So I use it now more so. I'll go on Facebook on my computer maybe 10 minutes a day versus Instagram for an hour, Facebook for 30 minutes. But I use it to one, stay in touch with past clients because I like to follow my past clients. Happy birthdays, see things that are happening in their lives. Same thing with my realtor partners. I want to do the exact same thing. But somebody told me this once, and it's a really, really good point. It stuck with me. If you're going to be doing something on social media, is it going to make you money? Like, well, I'm going to make this really cool video and I'm going to put it out there and my mom's going to like it. Like, cool. My mom likes all my stuff,
Right.
but it's that's not the end goal. So like if you're doing these videos, what is your true intention and can it be tracked to a metrics of is it going to actually help grow your business? So yes, being in front of people, sharing the successes, I think that's a good thing. But my social media is me cooking, my two girls, my wife, travel, and then maybe 10% that I do mortgages. Or if we really crush it on like a scenario, I'll share that story where I'm like, this person's been denied by three other lenders and they're literally getting the keys to their house. Or we've helped this grandmother obtain her first home ever in Detroit. We're going to share that. But from there, it's really just me being me.
Yeah, I love that. I think social media is it's a weird place. Some people get anointed as like you are accepted by the Facebook
Yeah.
crowd, like sometimes you just can't control whether or not, things are going to go work in your favor, right? Or get out in front of the masses. And so there's a lot of, manipulation you can do to pull the algorithm in
Mhm.
your favor, but that's a lot of like a
A
lot
lot
of
of work.
work,
I'd rather grab
So
coffee and a drink.
I like what you're doing, right? Just show up as a normal person, share your life a little bit, and then if people like it, great. If they don't, so what? But like, just don't
Yeah.
overthink it. So I love that. Now I wanted to get into something that I thought you did, something that you did that I thought was really smart, because you were noticing in like the data that's on kind of like the mortgage side of things, the MMIs or these sources that you can look up, and I'm not calling anyone out, but that it didn't always tell the full story, because you knew the numbers of transactions that you had with a particular realtor, but that wasn't the number reflected on your screen. So you went and did something very unique where you got licensed as a real estate agent, and now you have access to another set of data that is a little more accurate. What does that like? Has that changed anything for you, or how has that impacted the way you
Yeah. So
operate?
just for notion out there, I am not practicing real estate in any facet. I do not want to. I'm not a man of many hats. I'm going to stay in my lane when it comes to what I do. In case any of my realtors are watching this, I literally have real comp just to spy on you. That's it. I want to see everybody's data and I want to see what's happening. I want to see what people are doing. And I can look at that data as minuscule as I want or as a big picture as I want. So I can look at what somebody's done in the last 15 days in closings, pendings, listings, sales, buy side, sell side, or I can look at the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and it really helps me look at the big picture. But also through playing around with it, I can now comp out properties for refinances. If a client's looking to refi, I can pull all the data of what's really sold around them so that I have a really good accurate value versus the Zillows of the world or these third party companies. And a lot of the data, as we said, is inaccurate. It's not giving me the true picture. I'm like, I've closed 7 deals with this person in the first 6 months of the year. This website says that they've closed 3 deals with me. Well, where are the others? So might as well just look it up myself.
Yeah, I think it's really smart. And just on the subject of relationships with realtors, I mean, you had described it as kind of like a bank account analogy, deposits, debits and credits sort of thing, and that it really takes about 18 months to become like a relationship. So, what are some of the deposits that are needed along the way? And what do a lot of loan officers get wrong about their timeline when they think about realtor
I think a
relationships?
lot of people can resonate with this. What I'm about to say is that you had a great meeting with a realtor. You thought everything went well, and then crickets the next time you call them. No referrals come in. You're like, oh, what the heck? Like I bought you coffee, we had lunch, like this was great. We talked about your kids, your business, your goals, where you want this to go. That's not enough. That's not enough deposit to have someone just trust you with their paychecks, trust you with their clients. Their reputation is on the line. So I really do believe it takes 18 months to really build a solid relationship. It's like anything else. If you have a significant other, you don't go on your first date with them, grab coffee or meet them at the bar one time and then go, hey, we're married. Like, let's go. We're going to be living together now. It's not how this works. You have to put those deposits in. And what those deposits look like is showing one, that you are doing something for them to help them with their business. I want to show them that we really care. We want to help them grow throughout this process. Our goal is to try to obtain a lead for them. We want to ask those current clients in the process, like, hey, has Connor been doing a great job for you? Yeah. Like, do you know that Connor works solely on commission? And after he closes this transaction and helps you get your house, he's kind of unemployed. We need to help Connor stay employed. So we're going to be putting those deposits in there, letting them know that we aren't just handout, 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 wanting something from them. We're going to keep them educated. We're going to invite them to events. We're going to keep our lunch and learns. We're going to break it out into two categories. We're going to have our social fun events at which relax, invite your significant other, but then we're going to also help educate you either through Con Ed or we're going to bring in other business professionals and then staying in touch with them, having a reason to call versus just being like, hey, I want something. Telling a scenario story of something that happened on a particular file, guideline updates, a reason to continuously make those deposits. And when you have enough deposits, then you can ask someone for a withdrawal. There's not like a
Hmm.
end like metrics of like it's exactly 18 months, but based on just history and historical data, like when I start talking to someone, it might take them that long to realize I am that good at what I do. Like you can trust me.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right. It takes time. We're talking about someone's livelihood here, and for someone to just kind of freely give that up over a cup of coffee, it's a bit, it's a bit
Mhm.
absurd when you really dial it in and think about it. And sometimes we just forget that it's, there's a lot more that needs to go into it and can get frustrated. But and then kind of get to your point about social media and sort of seeing things and starting the comparison and noticing, hey, they did a deal with so and so, but we just went to coffee
Yeah.
last week, like
Well,
what's
they're
going on
cheating on me.
there?
Nobody's
you know
cheating on
and
anybody. That's the biggest thing I want
no
people
one's
to
cheating.
like understand in this business. No one owes you anything. There is no cheating. You have to be able to continuously add
Yeah,
value.
I love that. Something that I think is important to discuss is you've created some boundaries, I guess is the word I'm looking for, where now you've got like a strict rule, 5:30 to 7:30 family time. I love that. I think that's so important. Phone goes on do not disturb, no exceptions. Now, I know a lot of people who would say that's crazy. I've got to have my phone on all the time. I've got to be available anytime anyone needs me. But I think you argue kind of the opposite. Like what's the case for
So
that?
there's a backstory to it, which I don't even think I told you of that, is that so I grew up with a dad that was a great provider. great businessman, very, very well known. Everybody knew him and was always constantly working and providing. And because of that, not always the greatest father. So to be able to balance both, I created the rule when I became a dad. So mind you, prior to that, I was hustling because when you get in this business, you have to hustle. But now I'm a dad. I have a 2-year-old and 4-year-old, two girls, love them to death. That 2 hours a day to be undisturbed with my wife, with my kids, is not the craziest thing in the world to ask for. And I set that expectation at the first meeting with the realtor when they come in, and I let them know that. And more importantly, I explain the truth of it is there is never a highest and best scenario for a client in that timeline. There never is in my market, at least. And it's either going to be 8 p.m. is the deadline, which mind you, if I got that missed call at 7:29, I'm seeing it, and we're going to update that pre-approval letter. Secondly, or it's going to be at 10 a.m. the next day or noon the next day. Just everybody thinks everything's so urgent. But if you tell me the truth, then we're going to be able to work it. And it's been great for my own mental health and being part of like growing a family the way that I want to do it. And there's going to be loan officers that are going to say, that's absolutely crazy. I need to always be reactive. But that's the way you operate. And that's the beauty of this business is that we can all do it a different way and still be successful. So this is my way of doing it.
Well, and I think so. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday about the same topic, and I think their perspective was also valid, which was okay. If you're going to go into that season of high growth and you've got a family, don't exclude your family from that plan. Have a conversation inside those four walls and say, okay, family, this is what, I want to go after and achieve and accomplish, but this is going to be, what that really means. Like, this is the cost of doing that. Are we all on board? Do we understand, what's going to happen here? People go through different seasons of life. There's always like, different influences, externally that impact the decisions you make on your career. A lot of that is family. A lot of that is what that dynamic is at home and who needs your time and things like that. So I love that you've set that boundary and that you've been real intentional about it. So David, we're getting here towards the end. I want to give you an opportunity to speak your mind. I mean, we've asked a lot of questions. We've gone into a lot of different topics, but I didn't know if there was something specific that you would want to share on this podcast that I haven't talked to you about yet or asked you a question about. So I want to give you the floor and just sort of let
Let me
you
go.
speak
Cool.
freely.
So it's funny.
Dangerous.
In this business, we all start off basically on our own, right? And you said something about like I built a team around me to help out with my flaws. There's certain things I'm good at, and there's certain things I'm great at. And I really want to focus in on the things that I'm great at. But so many people think hiring that first assistant is going to be life changing for their business, right? Well, there's only one thing that's going to go well from that, and a whole lot of things that could potentially go wrong because people can't read your mind. And that was the biggest thing I learned as I've grown in this business. I can't expect someone just to be able to read my mind the same way that maybe my wife would, and really being able to invest the time and pour into them. And that's the only thing that goes well is that they actually you start to get that symmetry together and the team starts to run with all wheels going in the right direction. So being able to let go has been difficult. I mean, it's hard. You get pulled back into this business. It is, no one's going to care about that client and that file closing as much as you are. So you have to always make sure that's expressed, and you need to be able to, as you build this team, remember that you have to keep making the same levels of deposits as you would with an agent into them, constantly be coaching, constantly be working with them because it's hard because their livelihood depends on you being able to go do your job. And if I get pull back in and I'm micromanaging, then I'm not out here doing my job, which is really selling and getting people to know, like, and trust me. Mortgages, I mean, can be deemed boring sometimes. Let's be real. The paperwork side of it, the scenario number running, that's boring. I enjoy the people side of it, and I enjoy the problem solving side. I always tell people when I'm there working with me that there's an island of green that is legal. There is a sea of red that is illegal, which we do not do. But there is an ocean of gray in between. And what I specialize in is navigating people from the gray to the green. Unfortunately, 2026, not everybody's just a single W-2'd individual with one bank account.
Right.
We are, I mean, putting deals together today. I think it's been the hardest it's ever been, just with all the rules and things
Mhm.
that are happening, and making sure that we're on the up and up and looking out for a firm payment. It's like the questions that we ask, you have to be super intentional with identifying information. And I think sending people to a website is only extracting 60% of what you need. And if you only trust that is your only source, that's where you're going to run into problems in this business. So going deeper, diving deeper with clients, like for me and my team, I prefer to invest at least 45 minutes to an hour for every client intake conversation, just so we know what's going on. Because then the rest of everything else flows into place.
Yeah. And if anyone's listening to this for the first time, I would recommend that you listen to multiple other episodes to hear exactly what David just said from a lot of top producers in this industry, which is meet with your clients, have a consultation call, and really get to the bottom of things. Don't just rely on the online application. It's a great tool to have, but at the same time, you can identify the problems at the beginning and deal with them now instead of later down the path and it become a big fire, that takes 3 or 4 hours or multiple days even to solve. So David, I appreciate you being here on the lowdown, sharing your story, wisdom, just perspective on this business. And I wish you nothing but the best, man, in the
Thank you so
future.
much for having me. It's been great chatting with you.
Absolutely.